Hey everybody, as you know, I'm working on the next country episode, which means in the meantime, I gotta do a filler video. Oh, and by the way, what's all this? You can get a Geography Now mug or a Geography Now drawstring bag or Geography Now shirts at geographynow.com. Not selling out if it's your brand. Oh, and what's this inside the bag? A Geography Now figurine! You can get these at figime.com, limited edition. We're doing it for the last 5 country episodes, so get one before the series ends. They made it look better than I actually do in real life. All right, so this video is gonna be interesting facts about every country in the world, part 1, because there's a lot of countries and it takes a long time to do all of them. And this one is going to be from Afghanistan to Georgia. Oh, hey, what do I have here? The Georgian alphabet. So fun fact, all of the things I'm going to say in this video are actually already mentioned in previous Geography Now episodes. So the best part is I didn't really have to do much research. I just kind of backlogged to my old episodes to get all the stuff I'm going to say in this video. You know, a lot of you guys may not have watched every episode, or maybe some of you guys forgot or missed out on certain things, so here's my little recap of things I've already said. First one, Afghanistan. So in the Afghanistan episode, I mentioned how there was one last Jew living in Afghanistan, Zablon Simintov. Him and actually he had a cousin, Tova Moradi. In 2021, after the Taliban takeover, they were the last 2 Jews living in Afghanistan, and they left. One other extra fun fact, crossing the narrow border with China at the Wakhan corridor, which almost nobody ever does because it's almost impossible to get there, is the world's largest time zone jump, as China follows one time zone. So you would effectively be crossing over 3.5 hours of a time zone jump. Albania. The former president slash dictator Enver Hoxha was a little paranoid, and he built hundreds of thousands of these bunkers all over the countryside and the cities. And so today, if you go to Albania, you can actually see some of them. It's kind of like a little fun I Spy game. Like, see how many bunkers you can find in Albania. They're like these dome-shaped things. Algeria. Algeria not only has beautiful architecture in their cities, but they are also home to the Polisario Front in the town of Tindouf, which is the people that claim Western Sahara, and they have a whole dispute with Morocco. So Algeria kind of hosts them in a city close to the Western Sahara area, which is a little regionally controversial. Andorra. Andorra is one of the few diarchies in the world, as in technically by their constitution, the ruler is whoever the president of France is and whoever the bishop of the town of La Seu d'Urgell in Spain is. Also, they have no airports or train stations. The only way into Andorra is to drive in. They do have a heliport, but like it costs thousands of dollars to even use it. Nobody does that unless if you're super rich. Angola is the only country in Africa with an exclave, the Cabinda province, which also is the province in charge of managing much of their hydrocarbon industry, which is why they are also one of the most expensive countries in Africa. And don't forget, they speak Portuguese. Antigua and Barbuda actually for a quick while named their tallest peak Mount Obama, even though Obama had never been to their country. And then they reverted back in 2016 and named it Boggy Peak. The shape of the island of Barbuda looks like a pig, and they're famous for the Antiguan black pineapple, which is super sweet and grows a little taller than regular pineapples. Argentina has a reverse rain shadow effect north and south of their country. So ecologically speaking, if you look at Argentina and Chile, it's the complete opposite. North Chile desert, North Argentina green and lush, South Chile green and lush, South Argentina dry and arid. Armenia was the very first nation to officially adopt Christianity as the entire nation. And there are about 3 times more Armenians in diaspora than actual Armenia. Australia has a bubblegum pink lake called Lake Hellier and a complete underground town known as Cooper Pedy. Also, Jervis Bay acts as like a detached exclave of the capital, Canberra. You get the point. Austria has one of the only few quadrupoints in all of Europe at the Jungholz exclave. So the only way to get to the actual point where all 4 borders meet is to climb up to the top of the mountain. In Azerbaijan's Gobustan region, you can find the highest concentration of mud volcanoes in the world. Also, for some reason, Azerbaijan also has oil spas. That wasn't in the episode, but I saw that on The Amazing Race and I'm like, that's okay. Bahamas. In the Exuma island chain, you can find swimming pigs, and tourists can just go up to them and play with them, and it's pretty cool. Bahrain has the Tree of Life, which is a mysterious single huge tree just growing out in the middle of nowhere in the sand, surrounded by oil fields. It's a weird sight. Bangladesh, in 2015, they exchanged, 51 disputed enclaves for 111 11 disputed Indian enclaves, one of which was the world's only third-order enclave, Dahala Kagrabari 51, as it was a piece of India in Bangladesh, in India in Bangladesh. Barbados is obsessed with flying fish. It's on their coat of arms, it's on their money, it's on their passports, it's served as one of their national dishes, and it wasn't in the episode, but in my opinion, Barbados makes the best rum cake. I love rum cake. Barbados, you do it right. Belarus was actually way more affected by the Chernobyl disaster in 1986 than Ukraine was. And to this day, access to the southern border by the Chernobyl area is heavily restricted. And today, there's actually a movement to kind of revive the Belarusian language because Russian became so prevalent, but now they're kind of like, hey, it's Belarus. Belarusian. Belgium is famous for their comic book culture, and if you go to Brussels, you'll even see like comic books on murals, on walls, and in the subway stations, you'll see it like there's a Tintin subway station. And my opinion, Belgium, best chocolate, better than Switzerland. I'm sorry! Belize. The border with Guatemala looks like a straight line, but at one point it tilts ever so slightly about 5 degrees. So it's not a straight line. Also, Guatemala believes they should have pretty much most of Belize, but that's another topic. Benin has Gran Popo, a 20-kilometer stretch of coast that cuts at the Togolese border and effectively cuts off Togo from access to the sea. And Togo's like, you're lucky we're friends. Bhutan has a daily tariff for all foreigners who wish to visit, with the exclusion of some other South Asian countries like India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. So you have to pay about $250 every day you are there to get in. The money does go back into the community and pays for infrastructure and education for the kids or whatever. So it's going to a good cause though. Bolivia, I've met these. They got wrestling cholitas in Los Altos. Women donning the traditional garb and the bowler hats will get in the ring and wrestle. They also have the Death Road, which is one of the most dangerous roads in the world, but they did build a new highway, so now people don't have to take the dangerous road. Bosnia and Herzegovina has a very interesting legislative system. They have 3 constituent presidents that are supposed to represent the 3 constituent peoples, the Bosnians, the Serbs, and the Croats. It's such a complicated country. Botswana has one of the most beautiful natural phenomena, the Okavango Delta, which during the wet season, the Okavango River just kind of spreads and fans out into the middle of a savanna and floods it because it has nowhere else to go. And all the animals have to learn how to swim. It's like even the ostriches are swimming. Brazil. After multiple generations throughout the centuries, Brazil effectively created a whole new race called the Pardo people, which is basically a person that has some genetic admixture of white, black, and Amerindian. And I'm just saying, throughout the Latin American world, everybody knows Brazilians, they have a very look. Brunei, they have one of the richest heads of state, Hassan al-Bolkiah. On his 50th birthday, he built an entire stadium and he paid Michael Jackson $17 million to perform there. He also has like 9,000 cars and like a huge mansion with, I think, 1,700 rooms or something like that. It's insane. He's super rich. Bulgaria is the land of roses. They are obsessed with roses. Rose fields, rose oil, rose petals, rose soap, everything roses. Bulgaria is like the kingpin final boss. Also, they are super proud of their yogurt, and if I must say, I think it's the best in all of Europe. I'm sorry, my opinion. Burkina Faso is the land of African cowboys. Horse culture is huge out here. They have horse festivals. They ride horses in so many places. Burkina Faso has taken horse culture to a whole new level. Burundi had a monarchy that was deposed during independence. However, in 2005, one of the exiled princesses, Esther Kamatari, ran for president. She was also France's first African model. Cambodia has the only king with partial French descent in all of Asia. And also, for some reason, he speaks Czech fluently, which is insane because Czech is such a difficult language. They have like those consonants that nobody can pronounce, like Cameroon is called Africa in miniature because virtually every landscape you can find in Africa can be found in Cameroon, from the dry savannas and deserts in the north all the way down to the tropical rainforest in the south. And they even have geothermal activity and volcanoes, like everything. Canada has the northernmost continuously inhabited area on Earth. It's called Alert in the freezing cold Arctic tundras. It typically has a population ranging around 5 to 10, and it is an alert station. So yeah. Cape Verde's geographic position and atmospheric conditions basically allows it to become the starting point that creates all the hurricanes that inevitably hit North America and the Caribbean. So Cape Verde is kind of like a little rascal, you know, just pounding us with those hurricanes. But you're a cool country though. Central African Republic. One of their national languages is Sango, which is the only African language-based Creole that is used as an official language in all of Africa. As in, it's a Creole, but it's not European-based. Also, all the areas outside of the capital, Bangui, up to the Bowali Dam are virtually off-grid. If you need electricity out there, you need to use either a generator, solar, or battery power. Now for Chad, the Anneti Plateau up in the north is kind of shaped like a funnel, which puts a lot of pressure on the winds and they blast out, and in those winds are a ton of small little diatom particles which get pushed all the way to Brazil and fertilize the Amazon rainforest. Chile actually has the southernmost inhabited settlement in the world. Not Argentina. Everybody thinks it's Ushuaia. No, it's Puerto Williams in Chile. Also, Chileans have the most confusing accent in all of the Spanish-speaking world. I've heard other Hispanic people say, I'm better off understanding Portuguese than Chilean Spanish. Now, a lot of people think China is completely homogenous, but about 10% of their population is actually not Han Chinese. And today the country recognizes 56 ethnic groups, each with their own languages, customs, and traditions, and some of them even have their own autonomous areas, like the Mongolians in the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region of China. Colombia has the world's most densely populated island, Santa Cruz del Islote, which has about 500 people on it, and the entire island only takes up about 3 acres of land. Also, they have the liquid rainbow river, the Caño Cristales, which is regarded as the most beautiful river in the world. The Comoros has a very unique rotating presidential system in which the preceding candidate for presidency in the next term must come from another island in the rotating process of the main 3 islands of Comoros. The DRC has Nyiragongo, which is a volcano that has the world's largest lava lake. And also, the DRC is the world's largest French-speaking country in the world, not France. The RC, or the Republic of Congo, has Lake Tele, which is supposedly the home of Mokele Mbembe, a dinosaur-looking creature that the locals swear exists, and they swear that they killed one and ate one time. Is it real? Who knows? It's never been documented. Costa Rica has those really strange petrospheres created by the ancient discus people, and they have disputably the most beautiful money on earth. Croatia has one small opening at the Dalmatian coast to give Bosnia and Herzegovina a coastline at the town of Neum. And to circumvent the whole Bosnia thing, they actually built a bridge to go around the Bosnian coast. Also, the country looks like a dragon, and they have the very beautiful Plitvice waterfalls. Cuba is one of the only few countries on earth that has a denomination of 3 on their currency, the 3 peso banknote. They also have the Mogotes, which are these really cool eroded limestone cliff formations in the middle of the country. And they have the unique Trogon bird, which has these really cool sharp tail feathers. And the country is kind of shaped like a vacuum cleaner. Cyprus is the only country in the world that is administered by 4 separate political entities: the Republic of Cyprus, Northern Cyprus, the UN buffer zone, and the overseas UK territories of Akrotiri and Dhekelia. But beautiful beaches! Beer culture is so strong in the Czech Republic that their former president got drunk so many times in public, but the government blamed it on a virus. So the Czech people invented a new drink called the virus. Also, not in the episode, but if you go to the Czech Republic, they do this thing called mullet hunting, where you gotta like find people that have mullets, because they're everywhere. Denmark! So for them, they used to administer what is now the US Virgin Islands. They sold it off in 1917. And everybody kind of knows the Danish are, they're like the loudest, most outgoing people out of all the Scandinavians. Like usually Scandinavians are a little reserved and quiet. Danes, hoo-hoo, they'll go crazy. The only thing is they say speaking Danish sounds like you're talking with a potato in your mouth. Would you like some The country of Djibouti is basically the beginning of the East African rift system throughout all of East Africa. And that's also why the country kind of has like a crack in the middle of it. I'm not helping this. Also, Djibouti is basically where Ethiopia gets most of their seabound cargo imports from. So it's like Ethiopia depends a lot on Djibouti. It's too easy. Dominica has the 2nd largest boiling lake in the world, and they also have a beach with water that bubbles up from the sand from geothermal gas. Oh, such an underrated place. I really want to go there. For the Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo is the site of the very first European settlement in the Americas, and it is the only country in the Caribbean with a metro system. Also, I was told Dominicans are the fastest talkers in the entire Hispanic world. East Timor is the most isolated and often forgotten Portuguese Portuguese-speaking country in the world. And they have that strange Akusi exclave simply just because the Portuguese drew it that way when they colonized it, and then East Timor kept it. So yeah. They speak Portuguese here. The city of Guayaquil in Ecuador is just kind of like overrun with iguanas, and they have a whole park where there's just iguanas everywhere. And they are trying really hard to keep and maintain the Quechua language, and they offer services on TV stations and news broadcasts all in the Quechua language, even though technically it's not an official language, but they're trying. Now we all know Egypt has famous ancient pyramids and sites, but at the site of Al-Muzawaka, you can actually get up close to real mummies. And Egypt even has its own lost city of Atlantis, Hercalion. The entire site is actually submerged. It's a famous diving spot. And also, most people who learn Arabic actually usually start off with the Egyptian dialect because it's the most widely spoken. They have the highest population in the Arab world, and it's the one that's most widely known in TV and media. Now, El Salvador's official currency is the US dollar, and this was not in the episode, but it's actually one of the only 2 countries on Earth that has also adopted Bitcoin as a secondary official currency. And if you go to El Salvador, you can even see Bitcoin ATMs. It's interesting. Also, El Salvador has that Ruta de Flores, one of the most beautiful drives you can ever go on through the mountains. It's Equatorial Guinea has Annobon Island, which is one of the most isolated areas that is usually closed off to all foreigners, and I got to go there, and it's super beautiful, and they have this caldera lake on top of the volcanic mountain. I'm so glad I got to go there. Annobon Island. Eritrea is one of the only few countries in the world that has a total conscription for both men and women to serve in the military. And also, like Ethiopia, it is one of the only 2 countries that uses the Ge'ez script. Estonia is a tech and startup hub. They invented Skype, and Wi-Fi is virtually available almost everywhere in Estonia, even in the middle of the forests. And their national sport is kiiking, which is like the most intense swinging ever, where you have to actually go over the bar. Eswatini changed their name from Swaziland back in 2018, and they are also one of the few diarchy countries in the world with 2 leaders. As in, they have a king and a queen mother, as in the mother of the king. Those 2 people are always in charge of the country. It's an interesting system that they've been doing for a long time. Christianity was actually in Africa way before it became mainstream in Europe. And a lot of it actually started in Ethiopia, specifically during the Kingdom of Aksum times, which is why you can see all those ancient churches. Also, many of the Habesha peoples in Ethiopia have this really cool hair whipping dance. Fiji, due to historical diaspora patterns in the British Empire, about a quarter of Fiji's population is Hindu, mostly derived and made up of the Indian community. And the Fijian dialect of Hindi is one of the 3 official languages of Fiji, alongside with Fijian and English. Finland, their pride and glory is that they invented the sauna, and it is said that there are more saunas than cars in all of Finland. And it is said one of their favorite pastimes is to jump into the muddy bogs and wrestling each other, oftentimes naked. And also, one of their national dishes is mami, and I actually like that stuff. So for France, due to the fact that many dishes in France contain raw meat, it is said that a high portion of the population is probably infected with the Toxoplasma gondii parasite in their brain, which is known to cause aggressive tendencies in people. So for Gabon, it's very interesting. They have one of the maximum biosafety level 4 containment centers in the world in the town of Franceville. Also, they have about 80% of all lowland gorillas, and they have surfing hippos on the coast. The Gambia has Kunte Kinte Island, or Fort James, which is one of the only few places that the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth attempted to colonize outside of Europe. And the largest ethnic group here, the Mandinka, are essentially the descendants of the Mali Kingdom, which had Mansa Musa, the richest known man in all of human history. And finally, Georgia. Technically, Georgia has 3 alphabets, but they really only use 1 practically in daily life. It's called the Mkhedruli alphabet. By the way, a lot of words in Georgian end with I, like Batumi, Kutaisi, even the capital, Tbilisi, and lots of last names end with I, E. They love their I's. And Georgia has one of my absolute favorite comfort foods I've ever eaten abroad, khachapuri, specifically khachapuri chachapuri ajara, the one with the egg on top of it, and it's so good. You mix it up with the cheese and Georgians have some of the most cool looking, jumpy, dynamic dances you'll ever see in the entire Caucasus region. Although they all kind of do the same thing, but the Georgian style, I think, is pretty cool. Okay, so that's the end of part one, Afghanistan to Georgia. There's a lot of countries, it takes time to do this. So if I said a cool fun fact that kind of sparked interest in you, feel free to watch that country episode, because literally everything I said here can be found in the country episodes. In the meantime, this was really fun. I love doing this type of stuff for you guys. Hope you're doing good. Cheers, stay cool, stay tuned.